Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Suti Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Turubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vashadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschacha Deshatarine. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Na prasyat priyam prapya nadvidyet prapya cha priyam stira buddhira samudho brahmavid brahmani stitaha. Word for word synonyms. Na, never. Prarishyat, rejoices. Priyam, the pleasant. Prapya, achieving. Na, does not. Udvijet, become agitated. Prapya, obtaining. Cha, also. Apriyam, the unpleasant. Stira buddhi, self-intelligent. Asamudha, unbewildered. Brahmavid, one who knows the Supreme perfectly. Brahmani, in the transcendence. Stitaha, situated. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. A person who neither rejoices upon achieving something pleasant, nor laments upon obtaining something unpleasant, who is self-intelligent, who is unbewildered, and who knows the signs of God, is already situated in transcendence. Am I reading the wrong verse? Okay, here we go. Sorry. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The symptoms of the self-realized person are given herein. The first symptom is that he is not illusioned by the false identification of the body with his true self. He knows perfectly well that he is not this body, but is the fragmental portion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is therefore not joyful in achieving something, nor does he lament in losing anything which is related to the body. This steadiness of mind is called stira buddhi, or self-intelligence. He is therefore never bewildered by mistaking the gross body for the soul, nor does he accept the body as permanent and disregard the existence of the soul. This knowledge elevates him to the situation of knowing the complete science of the absolute truth, namely Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. He thus knows his constitutional position perfectly well, without falsely trying to become one with the Supreme in all respects. This is called Brahman realization, or self-realization. Such steady consciousness is called Krishna consciousness. So the translation again, a person who neither rejoices upon achieving something pleasant, nor laments upon obtaining something unpleasant, who is self-intelligent, who is unbewildered, and who knows the signs of God, is already in transcendence. So it's a very important verse, this, and very relevant. Sometimes we wonder, how much have I advanced in my spiritual life? Or when will I know when I've become advanced? So yeah, the Lord is describing the symptoms of one who has become self-realized. Or in other words, Krishna has been explaining the situation of Brahman, one who's come to the position of Brahman. And that means coming to understand spirit. So these are the symptoms are given there, and this is something we can always use as a benchmark for our advancement in Krishna consciousness. So the Lord is saying here, a person who neither rejoices upon achieving something pleasant, nor laments upon obtaining something unpleasant, who is self-intelligent, who is unbewildered. So an important question that arises when we read this. So how does one achieve this stage or this state of consciousness? And today I would like to talk about it from two perspectives. One from the perspective of a person who has achieved the stage of Brahman, his consciousness or her consciousness, who may not necessarily be a devotee of Lord Krishna. And then the second perspective is the perspective of the devotee. How does a devotee reach a stage? What is his consciousness? What is his thinking? Where there's no rejoicing when something pleasant is achieved, nor is there lamentation upon something that's unpleasant. So it's very interesting and relevant. We can achieve this stage from the platform of theoretical understanding, or we can achieve this state through factual realization. And we'll discuss this from both perspectives. This is very, very important. So let's just talk about this from a position of a transcendentalist, not necessarily a devotee, although a devotee is already in this consciousness. So some of the devotees in this today's session, I'm sure there are many advanced devotees. Some of you may have already achieved the stage. So can someone like to explain in their own words through what type of consciousness does one find oneself not really rejoicing when one achieves something pleasant, nor lamenting when obtaining something unpleasant? What is the state of consciousness? How do they think? How do they see the world? And how is this possible? How is this possible that something fantastic happens and one is just neutral? And the same thing applies when something unpleasant happens. Would someone like to say how does this, at least even if it's from a theoretical point of view, would like to hear what you have to say. Let's see if there's anyone volunteering. No.
I can say something, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Humble obeisances to you, Hare Krishna.
Humble obeisances to you, Hare Krishna.
So I see it has the balance. So, for example, when you rejoice in something pleasant or lament something unpleasant, we have this duality of things. that it's when we don't understand that things are just temporary. So a sensation that is pleasant or something that happens that is unpleasant, those are just things that are temporary. And when we neither give much importance to them because we are in the unity, which I almost like the statue, when we find this justice statue with a balance, when there's a perfect balance between both, we just, yeah, we are just in Krishna conscience. So we understand that everything is material, everything that is about pleasure itself, it is material. So yes, then we don't pay much attention to those.
Thank you very much for your realizations, Mataji. You made many important points there. I was trying to write down what you've said. One thing you said is temporary. You know, with an understanding that everything's temporary, you know, why should we rejoice because it's just temporary, or why should we lament? Thank you very much. And then also from a Krishna consciousness point, you know, you see everything as coming from Krishna. Very nice points. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Krishna. Anyone else likes to explain how this state is possible? An ordinary person who reads such a verse, they will think, this is not possible.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
My Dandavad pranams to you. I'm maybe not correct, but again, I will just give my theoretical explanation. I think as we are speaking about when we know that we are not the doer, there are so many other elements involved. This is happening. And finally, it's a Krishna blessings and mercy. When we know that theory, so when something pleasure comes, we definitely don't rejoice. We shouldn't be, at least. And second thing, even the same thing when something unpleasant happens, as Mataji said, it's a temporary. And, and when we know that, as we spoke in the chapter 3 or 4, it's based on maybe our bad karma is going away now because Krishna wants us to purify us. So he's giving those bad karma, whatever we did in the previous lives or the previous times, which is coming us for now. So when we apply these kind of logics, maybe we can be in that.
Very nice realizations. You're saying we're not the doer, we're not the controller. So if anything's under our control, you know, why should we be disturbed? Nice realization, Prabhu. Thank you. Would anyone also like to share how they...
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Humble obeisances, Dandat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam, or Grace Prabhupada.
Prabhuji, actually, the attachment, love and attachment is the nature of our soul. We cannot completely ignore it, but we can transfer it towards Krishna. Rather than being attached with the whole world, we can become more Krishna conscious. Like we cannot stop speaking, like urge to speak. We cannot control it, but we can speak Mahamantra. We can speak holy names. If we control ourselves, if we put our senses in the service of the Lord, all 11 senses, including our mind, then we can avoid being affected by the pleasant or unpleasant things.
Mm-hmm. So basically, if you're saying if we can engage ourselves in Krishna consciousness, then there's no such thing as pleasant or unpleasant. Yes.
Yeah, if we engage ourselves in Krishna consciousness more and more, then if we want to see something beautiful, we will see the Krishna's deities. Okay. And if we want to smell something nice, we will smell the nice scents of Krishna's offered in Krishna service. Like that, we engage all our senses in Krishna service, then we can avoid to some extent being affected by the other things.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. That's a very good point, Prabhu. Thank you. Thank you very
Hare
much.
Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Bhagavati Mataji.
Again, what is good luck, what is bad luck, we don't know. Pleasant and unpleasant is only God's will. And when we unite our will to the will of God, then both pleasure and pains are serenely accepted as His grace. That's what I would.
Hare Krishna, seeing everything as Krishna. Kanta Mataji, you had yourself unmuted. Did you want to add something?
Yes, Prabhuji, I can only think about this, that that person knows perfectly well that he's not body, he is soul, and he is a fragmental portion of Lord, the Supreme Lord. So he is soul, and he does not, because he is with Krishna, he's Krishna conscious person. That's what he thinks he is. And he does not lament if he lose anything, or if he achieve anything, he's not happy, he's not unhappy. And so he is just pure conscious in Krishna consciousness.
Yes.
He thinks he is soul and he's the part of the Supreme. So he thinking that way. He's not thinking materialistic way. That belongs to body. Happiness, unhappiness, all those things, all dualities.
Very good point. Very good point. This is the point Prabhupada also makes in the purport. He's just the observer, the soul. The soul does not see anything.
Materially,
Yeah, because he sees everything separate. So everyone made some very beautiful points, and I can see all of you will have some realizations of this. And you're probably living according to this verse. And Prabhupada, the verse Krishna says, when one is in such a consciousness, one remains unbewildered and one is situated in transcendence. Being situated in transcendence means one is always peaceful, one is always equipoised. In the Vedic system, anything that happens in this material world is not considered to be real. According to Vedic culture, for something to be recognized as real, it has to be permanent. Anything that is temporary is not really real because it has no factual or eternal existence. Therefore, sometimes we will read in Prabhupada's purports or in the verses that this material world is not real. It's simply a dream. So imagine we were dreaming that we came upon some great wealth. We came across some great wealth. And then we get up. Are we overjoyed? Do we feel extremely happy and excited that we came upon some great wealth? No, we don't.
No.
None of us do that, do we? Why? It's just a dream.
It was only a dream.
It's just a dream. It has no permanent reality. It was just a temporary experience in a dream. In the same way, sometimes in the dream, we may get robbed. We may lose someone very close to us. When we get up from the dream, do we start crying and morose we are? We don't.
No.
Do we? Why? It's a dream. It is just a temporary experience. So those people in knowledge, those of us who recognize that everything in this material world is a temporary experience. It has no permanent reality. So neither is there need to rejoice when something pleasant happens, and neither is there a situation that one has to lament. In the, I wanted to read something nice from the Bhagavatam. In the Bhagavatam, there is oh, where is it? No, I lost it. Anyway, in the Bhagavatam, there's some situations about Dharma. Dharma, he has his legs chopped off. And then Dharma is asked by Maharaj Parikshit, what happened to you? What is the cause of your situation? And Dharma, he does not lament. He said, well, I'm really not sure. It may be my karma, or it may be the hand of the Lord. But he does not blame the situation, the agent of Kali that cut his legs off. A very similar situation happens with Kunti Devi. Kunti Devi was once asked by Vasudev on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, how do you find yourself in this situation? She could have very easily have responded, oh, this was Duryodhan, the Kauravas have put me in this situation. But she replies, actually, it's difficult to tell. It could be my karma, or very possibly it's the hand of the Lord. This is the hand of the Lord. So one who sees a situation from a transcendental perspective, they do not see themselves as doers. Ultimately, for a devotee, the devotee sees that everything is in Krishna's hands. Everything is happening because of Krishna's will. Now, I want to take us all to the Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam, the beautiful interest in Srimad Bhagavatam, where this particular principle is very nicely illustrated. And I want to read to you all this particular incident. Anyone has an idea which incident I'm going to be talking about? Okay. Transcendental qualities of Vritrasura. Okay, let me just go there quickly. Sorry, that's chapter 12. That's chapter 12. So this pastime is the pastime of the demon Vritrasura, who was actually a devotee who was cursed. And he became the king of the demons. He had a fight with the demigods, and he found himself in this fight with Lord Indra. And in the battlefield, he was experiencing a situation where one of his arms was chopped off. Now, I know there's not much time, but I would really like to read this because it's so insightful. It's so insightful. And let me share with you all this particular pastime. So the context of this is Vritrasura has been fighting with King Indra. During the fight, he has his one arm chopped off, but he's still very much enthusiastic to fight. And Srila Prabhupada writes, after Vritrasura finished speaking, he released his trident against King Indra with great anger. But Indra, using his thunderbolt, which was many times more powerful than the trident, broke the trident to pieces and cut off one of Vritrasura's arms. Nevertheless, Vritrasura used his remaining arm to strike Indra with an iron mace, making the thunderbolt fall from Indra's hand. Indra, being very ashamed of this, did not pick up the thunderbolt from the ground. But Vritrasura encouraged King Indra to pick it up and fight. Vritrasura then spoke to King Indra as follows, instructing him very well. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, he said, is the cause of victory and defeat. Not knowing that the Supreme Lord is the cause of all causes, fools and rascals try to take credit for victory or defeat themselves. But eventually, everything is under the control of the Lord. No one but him has any independence. I'll just move on. Not seeing the hand of the Lord in every action, a fool considers himself the ruler and controller of everything. When one understands, however, that the real controller is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is freed from the relativities of the world, such as distress, happiness, fear, and impurity. Thus, Indra and Vritrasura not only fought, but also engaged in philosophical discourses. Then they began to fight again. This is actually a very, very amazing situation in the Srimad Bhagavatam. A demon fighting with a demigod. The demigod becoming morose, disillusioned, not wanting to fight. And then the demon encouraging the demigod to fight. And we all know that this demon Vritrasura was actually not a demon, but he was a devotee of the Lord. So I'll just read the actual verses. How are we doing for time? Maybe I'll read for another 5 minutes and then we can take some questions, because it's such a beautiful, beautiful exchange this between Indra and Vritrasura. Shukadev Goswami said, desiring to give up his body, Vritrasura considered death in the battle preferable to victory. O King Parikshit, he vigorously took up his trident and with great force attacked Lord Indra, the king of heaven. Just as Kaitaba forcefully attacked the Supreme Personality of Godhead when the universe was inundated. Then Vritrasura, the great hero of the demons, whirled his trident, which had points like the flames of the blazing fire at the end of the millennium. With great force and anger, it threw it at Indra, roaring and exclaiming loudly, O sinful one, thus shall I kill you. Flying in the sky, Vritrasura's trident resembled a brilliant meteor. Although the blazing weapon was difficult to look upon, Indra, unafraid, cut it to pieces with his thunderbolt, simultaneously cut off one of Vritrasura's arms, which was as thick as the body of Vasuki, the king of the serpents. Although one of his arms was severed from his body, Vritrasura angrily approached Indra and struck him on the jaw with an iron mace. He also struck the elephant that carried Indra. Thus Indra dropped the thunderbolt from his hand. Oh, Krishna, what happened there? The denizens of various planets like the demigods, the demons, the charanas, and the siddhas praised Vritrasura's deed. But when they observed that Indra was in great danger, they lamented, alas, alas, having dropped the thunderbolt from his hand in the presence of his enemy, Indra was practically defeated and was very much ashamed. He dared not pick up his weapon again. Vritrasura, however, encouraged him, saying, take up your thunderbolt and kill your enemy. This is not the time to lament your fate. This is so amazing, the demon is telling him. Come on, kill me. This is not a time to lament. You should not lament. Vritrasura continued, O Indra, no one is guaranteed of being always victorious. But the original enjoyer, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan, he is the cause of creation, maintenance, and annihilation. And he knows everything. Being dependent and being obliged to accept material bodies, belligerent subordinates are sometimes victorious and sometimes defeated. All living beings and all the planets of this universe, including the presiding deities of all the planets, are fully under the control of the Lord. They work like birds caught in a net who cannot move independently. Our sensory prowess, mental power, bodily gain, living force, immortality, and mortality are all subject to the superintendence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Not knowing this, people think the dull material body to be the cause of their activities. And then he goes on speaking, and I'll just move on. A foolish, senseless person cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although always dependent, he falsely thinks himself supreme. If one thinks according to one's previous fruit of actions, one's material body is created by the mother and father, father and mother, and the same body is annihilated by another agent, as another animal is devoured by a tiger. This is not proper understanding. The Supreme Personality of Godhead himself creates and devours the living beings through all other beings. So what is being said here is, for one who is invested in the material world, for one who's thinking that he is doing and he is receiving according to his actions, then such a person will experience the dualities of happiness and distress. But if one is not invested in this material world, one has not made this material world their goal, they simply see that everything's happening. One person may see it as the agency of the material world. Another person will see it as everything is happening by the direction and the sanction by the Lord. And a devotee, he understands that whatever happens, happens by the will of Krishna. So there's no good, there's no bad, there's no happiness, and there's no distress. There's only the mercy, the goodwill, and the benediction of Lord Krishna in everything that happens. So one can feel happy that everything is happening from the perspective of Krishna. One is not an indifferent stone, but one sees everything from a Krishna consciousness perspective. And I'll just carry on quickly. Oh, my enemy, he's talking to Indra. Just look at me. I have already been defeated, for my weapon and arm have been cut to pieces. You have already overwhelmed me, but nonetheless, with the desire to kill you, I am trying my best to fight. I am not at all morose, even under such adverse conditions. Therefore, you should give up your moroseness and continue fighting. Oh, my enemy, consider this battle a gambling match in which our lives are the stakes, the arrows are the dice, and the animals acting as carriers of the game board. No one can understand who will be defeated and who will be victorious. It all depends on providence. So let's just read very quickly what Indra says. So Indra responds now to this amazing response by Vritrasura. And Indra says, "O great demon, I see by your discrimination and endurance in devotional service, despite your dangerous position, that you are a perfect devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the super soul and friend of everyone. You have surmounted the illusionary energy of Lord Vishnu, and because of this liberation, you have given up the demonic mentality and have attained the position of an exalted devotee." And then Indra basically says, I've become morose because I am subject to the modes of material nature. I am not a pure devotee. I am not fixed in devotional service like you are, and therefore I am affected by victory and gain. But you are the pure devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And for you, you are just swimming in the nectar of the all auspiciousness of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So dear devotees, it's time, and we're also going to sing a bhajan. You can read this beautiful chapter. It is the 6th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter number 12, Vritrasura's glorious death. So one who is in proper consciousness, one who is really Krishna conscious, one can come to the platform described in this verse of the Bhagavad Gita. And if one is not even a devotee, one is simply on the platform of knowledge, one can still be on the platform of transcendence. One can just see the temporary nature of this material world. So I'll stop here. I'll take any questions or any comments that anyone may have. In the meantime, I shall find the song that Hema Mataji is going to sing. So any questions or comments? There's no comments. Okay. And let us go to the song. The bhajan is going to be sung today. Meena Mataji, did you want to say something? All right, it's okay. So Emma Mataji, are you ready to sing today's bhajan?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you for this opportunity. Wonderful.
I shall put the song on the board. Is Santosh Mataji going to read the English translation first and you'll sing, or in which order are you going to do this?
Yes, Prabhuji, I'm going to read the translation first. Thank you.
Okay.
The divine, let me say, Radha Krishna Prana Mora. And this is the translation of this beautiful bhajan, Hare Krishna. The divine couple, Sri Sri Radha and Krishna, is my life and soul. In life or death, I have no other refuge but them. In a forest of small Kadamba trees on the bank of the Yamuna, I will seat the divine couple on a throne made of brilliant jewels. I will anoint their dark and fair forms with sandalwood paste scented with chuya, and I will fan them with a tamara whisk. Oh, what will I behold their moon-like faces? When will I behold their moon-like faces? After stringing together garlands of malati flowers, I will place them around their necks, and I will offer tambula scented with camphor to their lotus mouths. With the permission of all the Sakhis headed by Lalita and Vishakha, I will serve the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna. Narottama Dasa, the servant of Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu, longs for this service to the divine couple. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Shall I start, Prabhuji?
Yes, Mataji, please do.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Hare Krishna, everyone. Please accept my humble obeisances. I'm singing the bhajan called Radha Krishna Pranamura, and it is by Narottam Das Thakur from his collection of Prarthana. Radha Krishna Pranamura Jugala Kishora. Radha Krishna Pranamura Jugala Kishora. Jivane marane gati auro nahi mora. Jivane marane
और नहीं मोरा। राधा कृष्ण प्राण मोरा जुगल किशोरा। कालिंदी रकुले खेली कदम्बे रावणा। कालिंदी रकुले खेली कदम्बे रावणा। रतन बेदीरा उपारा बोस बोधु जाना। रतन बेदीरा उपारा बोस बोधु जाना। राधा कृष्ण प्राण मोरा जुगल किशोर। श्यामा गौरी अंगे दिवो चंदने चंदने रगाना। श्यामा गौरी अंगे दिवो चंदने रगंदा। चमर दुलाबो कबे हेरी मुख चंद्रा। चमर दुलाबो कबे हेरी मुख चंद्रा। राधा कृष्ण प्राण मोरा जुगल किशोर। गतिया मलती माला दिवदोर गाले। गतिया मलती माला दिवदोर गाले। आधारे तुलिया दिवो कर्पूर तंबूले। आधारे तुलिया दिवो कर्पूर तंबूले। राधा कृष्ण प्राण मोरा जुगल किशोर। ललिता विशाखादि जगत सगी वृंदा। ललिता विशाखादि जगत संगी वृंदा। अज्ञाय कोरिबो सेवा चरण रविंदा। अज्ञाय कोरिबो सेवा चरण अरविंदा। राधा कृष्ण प्राण मोरा जुगल किशोर। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु दासेर अनुदासा। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु दासेर अनुदासा। सेवा विलास करे नरोत्तम दासा। सेवा विलास करे नरोत्तम दास। राधा कृष्ण प्राण मोरा जुगल किशोर। जीवने मरणे गति आरो नाही मोरा। राधा कृष्ण प्राण मोरा जुगल किशोर। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे। हरे रामा राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। जय प्रभुपादा प्रभुपादा प्रभुपादा। जय प्रभुपादा जय प्रभुपादा Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jayo Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, thank you for giving me this chance. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. It was really beautiful. This was one of my favorite bhajans. And the melody you sang, it was also one of my favorite melodies. And you sang it really, really beautiful. Thank you so much for your service and your wonderful devotional singing. So I just want to see if there's any other questions or comments quickly, and then we'll close the session. Let's see in the chat. Looking at the wrong place. Sorry, just bear with me. Okay. Let's see. Everyone is appreciating your singing. Wonderful, thank you. Hare Krishna. So that draws to conclusion our session for today, dear devotees. We'll meet again tomorrow. All glories to your service. Thank you
Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for the wonderful show. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna, everyone.
Thank you.
Motivation.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you.